Gotcha, bitch.
Ooh-wee. Does it feel great to be a One Piece fan at the moment, as Egghead has been nothing but great eats all the way through, and then they go ahead and drop this fight on our head tops. I'm at my limit here, Toei. I'm about to explode.
I beg your pardon?
But boy, did this fight have everything. I'm talking action, backstory, and some sweet, sweet animation. But before we get onto Egghead, let's go back to where these two first met, in an arc I like to call the... Now I know you boys done seen the title, cause this wasn't even a fight, and that's saying something because Kizaru was fighting the whole Straw Hats at the same time. My boy was solo squadding these bombs, and it wasn't only the Straw Hats he was going after, because any other pirates he saw, he gave him a fresh kind of whoop-ass. And the gap in strength between Kizaru and the rest of these bombs was so wide, it was like watching a maxed out character who goes back to the start of the game just to flex. But the only reason Kizaru was even there in the first place was because Luffy slapped the dog shit out of this top 3 basement dweller. I can just smell the dried sweat just oozing off of him through the screen. And how you gonna have snot running out of both nostrils whilst wearing a trash ass fit that's a pointed hoodie away from being close to another certain class? The only person that fit would even make sense on is the minority hunter Zoro. But you telling me you got all that bread and you can't put together a half decent fit and then force some tissue paper to wipe that snot off your nose? I mean, this motherfucker took this Biggie line too seriously. But either way, after Luffy folded this man's face in half, Kizaru was sent to eliminate Luffy, as even touching one of these sweat balls is a crime. Big fella, you a stinky, sweaty, obese man. No one was gonna touch you regardless. I promise. He really made that rule thinking that the Hers were gonna be begging to touch him, like he a prime Michael Jackson. Nobody, you a top-ranking Redditor.
Well, that's what you think. My kawaii 2D waifus love me.
But when Kizaru landed, he was causing havoc to any pirates he saw. And it wouldn't take him long to find his target, the Straw Hat Pirates. And boy, I'm telling you, he wasn't playing with them. I don't think we've ever seen Zoro this vulnerable. And he was doing all this with both hands in his pockets. Who does he think he is? Bro, at this point, just give him the ass whooping and leave, bro. Please. You humiliated my boy, you know. And if it wasn't for Usopp firing his special attack at Kizaru and saving the day, all the Straw Hats would be...
It was actually Rayleigh that saved them.
It was Rayleigh that saved them? The same guy that let his captain's son get fisted without doing shit, except letting our thug tear? Okay, I guess Rayleigh came in and saved the Straw Hats, holding off Kizaru so Kuma could send them all into a 2-year time skip to get strong. And boy, did they need that straight, because look at Luffy, he was literally taking back shots there. But now that we know the backstory between these two, let's get into the... So this time, Kizaru is once again sent to eliminate someone. But it ain't Luffy, it's Vegapunk. And you know Luffy ain't gonna let one of his friends go out like that. So you know as soon as Luffy caught Kizaru slipping, it was on sight. But Kizaru didn't get the message because he was trying to show some respect and say long time no see. But you know Luffy wasn't with that yapping shit and wanted all the smoke instantaneously. So he cut him off mid-sentence and hit him with the meanest and all them spins combined with the haki. Shit's a razzle-dazzle overload. And Luffy was not playing around because he went straight to Gear 4 Snake Man. And he was hitting Kizaru with all type of shit. I mean, punches were coming from all directions. But not gonna lie, Kizaru didn't look phased at all. I mean, now we respected the strength, but he was still playing with that ass. Pause. And in a moment's notice, he would turn into light and damn near teleport into the sky. His devil fruit is too OP. I mean, he can fly and move at the speed of light at the very same time. But it's due to these powers we get a cold ass shot of him looking over Egghead doing his best Superman impression. And boy, can Kizaru go from 0 to 100 real quick, as he will be at Luffy's face with his foot at an instant. And you know you messed up when the animator slowed that motherfucker down. You may as well enjoy your first class ticket to the Shadow Realm at that point. That's a shot that should evaporate you on impact. I mean, we talking about a grown ass man coming at you at the speed of light. That's a whole lot of force coming at your face. But you just know anime characters will eat that shit up and say some shit like, haha, is that all you got?
Watch your mouth, bitch ass nigga.
Nonetheless, Luffy would get sent flying through a big ass robot, and Kizaru would use this chance to try get Vegapunk. But like I said before, Luffy wasn't gonna let that happen. And you know what time it is when you hear those drums of liberations hit. Gear 5! And Luffy wasted no time in Gear 5 as he turned straight into a giant with his own broken ass devil fruit. And then he had the audacity to palm Kizaru's whole body with one hand and just start manhandling this man. And I ain't gonna lie, Luffy, you doing too much here. Cause there's no need to be wrapping yourself up like that and doing all this extra shit. Throw him already, man, let him go with some manhood. But Luffy wouldn't stop there as he proceeded to wind up his throat and send Kizaru flying into space like he was a member of Team Rocket. Only thing missing was the goofy ass twing sound effect. This is the type of local activity you expect from the wild card of the group, not the leader. And this is what separates my glorious King James as a leader from everyone else. You'll never catch him doing anything goofy at all. But as Kizaru is flying, he takes a breather. He a chill guy. But then he realizes he's Kizaru and literally spins around looking crispy as fuck in that black and yellow suit and shoots right back into the rubber boy's direction. And it would be here where Kizaru would get serious and hit him with the multi-shadow clone jutsu. This devil fruit is getting too ridiculous, man. I mean, he literally stealing moves from another anime. And just like me, Luffy couldn't believe the blasphemy he was witnessing. And boy oh boy, does the animation go on a completely different level from here. And Kizaru would take full advantage of this as he will go straight for Luffy and try cutting with all his shadow clones. Shit done turned into a jumping real quick. But you know Luffy be weaving and slipping like a prime Canelo, abusing that observational haki. But even with all that, he was still getting caught with some nasty shots and got grazed on his face, which made him think forget this and hit the goofiest gum dawn whip ever. But that shit did nothing at all and hit all air. Golly, Luffy, you had all them clones and you couldn't even hit one? That's some Draymond Green level of accuracy. And as soon as Luffy realized, Kizaru jumped that ass again and had Luffy acting like a Looney Tunes character. But you know Luffy wasn't gonna lose out here and turned into a Titan again. And with one swoop, Luffy finally hits the clones. Never mind, Kizaru dodged that weak ass shit again. And I don't even blame Luffy for being confused at this point, because how do you possibly hear a guy that can literally move at the speed of light? And Kizaru would take full advantage of this confusion because this grown ass man started crawling up another man's arm. Goodness me, we are talking about an individual who is 9'11". Yes, 9'11" crawling up another man's arm. Kizaru packing, big fella, your ass needs to be in the league posterizing people. You got no business throwing hands on the battlefield. My boy is damn near as tall as the rim and wants to act like the Incy Wincy spider. We could have seen two sunshines going at it. You stole that from me, Kizaru. That was today. And Luffy didn't play that either, because as soon as he figured out Kizaru was crawling up his arm, he squished him. But once again, Kizaru was too fast, and him and his shadow clones avoided being squished like a roach. And this dodge allowed him to be up in Luffy's face once again. But this time, Luffy knew to expect it, and when Kizaru was all up in his shit, he blew so hard he shrinked and flew backwards. And this gust of air sent Kizaru flying. I know that shit wasn't that strong to send the whole admiral flying like that. That shit must have had a tantalizing kick to it.
This little nigga just farted.
But as Kizaru was flying, he would catch his shadow clones and launch them back at Luffy, which made Luffy start running like he was the Roadrunner. I mean, he was so scared he nearly forgot to take his facial features with him. Literally, look at this shit. Damn, man, Luffy really must have been scared for his... Luffy set up Kizaru and his dumbass clones all in one line and caught him lacking, catching him with the meanest gum dawn whip ever, taking out all his shadow clones all at once. But all of that was just a double fake out. You just walked into my trap card ass moment as the real Kizaru was grabbing Usopp from his big juicy lips. Usopp really just be a victim post time skip. My boy be putting up Tony Snell levels of performances. He does nothing. But Kizaru's attention would quickly change from one victim to the next, as when Vegapunk made a break to save Bonnie, Kizaru would shoot a laser at him. And at this point I'm thinking, damn Luffy, You really did all you could. You ain't gonna get there in time for this one. But you already know the antics of Gear 5 Luffy, cause he would proceed to literally eat the attack. Goodness me, do you know the skill it takes to glide that elegantly in the sky and then perfectly time eating a laser at the very same time? Shit, it don't matter if you're Kizaru, Akainu, or Raikugu. Luffy in 5. But although that shit was tough, Luffy forgot that whatever goes in must come out, as Luffy started exploding everywhere uncontrollably. And this will buy enough time for Vegapunk to escape, leaving Luffy and Kizaru to continue what they started. And boy did they continue. But I ain't gonna lie, none of them were hitting each other at this point. They were both just hitting straight air. And I don't even blame them, because both they devil fruits is that OP. And at this point Kizaru is just trying to wrap it up because he's got a mission to complete. But boy has Luffy come a long way, because he's still standing and banging with an admiral. Damn man, my boy's come a long way man. Shit brings a tear of joy to my eyes. And at this point we just start getting hit by everything that's happening. Zoro versus Lucci. The Goro say this shit looked like it was directed by a Bollywood director. And as the Gorosei arrived on the battlefield, everyone was getting distracted by his tremendous aura, and Kizaru would use this distraction to try to give Vegapunk and end his mission once and for all. But luckily Vegapunk swerved that motherfucker at the very last minute, and this will give enough time for Luffy to get back into the fight with Kizaru. But Kizaru wanted to complete his mission, so he started hitting Luffy with everything in the book. But as Luffy dodged, he started spinning like he was the Tasmanian devil. But while spinning, he finally cooked up a tough plan to finally catch this motherfucker Kizaru slipping. And he would execute this plan by first hitting Kizaru with a Gum Gum Star Gun. This would lead to Kizaru dodging it, but Luffy planned for this. So he started spinning and wrapped his punch all the way around, using all that torque energy to catch Kizaru right in the dome. And that shit literally dented Kizaru's head. You know you got a good licking when the other guy says, "This ain't good." And this punch would send Kizaru flying through the building, hopefully knocking him out for the rest of the arc, so the Straw Hats can escape. And with this punch, Luffy reached his limit and started to look like a nutsack. But this brings us to the end of this legendary battle, where Luffy just about taken the victory.
Fatality. Luffy wins.
Now the lesson I learned from this one is the importance of strength, and I'm not just talking about physically. As in Sabaody, Luffy was way too weak to protect himself and his friends. But for me, it went past that, because due to his weakness, he no longer could protect his morals, his ideas, and most importantly his dream to be the king of the pirates. And once a person loses those things, he loses himself in the process due to his weakness. Now I ain't gonna lie, I don't understand strength in its entirety myself, but what I do know is that Luffy showed it and proved it to himself by defeating Kizaru, showing himself that he's worthy of his own dream. And it goes back to that quote, you'd rather be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war. Either way, I've been yapping for too long, so like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and may peace be upon you.
I want that booty time.
Hurry up and let me ride it! Hurry up and let me ride it!
Shut the fuck up, yo. You sitting there.